Thank you Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. On October 30th, 2019, Apple gave us the AirPods Pro, and now 2 years and 11 months later, Apple's given us the AirPods Pro 2. Today we're gonna check these guys out, go over the different features, talk about what's new, and mainly talk about if you've already got a set of these, should you upgrade to these? And I also get to say to Apple, I told you so, something from 5 years ago that I said about the AirPods, they did it in here. We'll talk more about that later in the video, but first let's just look at the physical changes on these AirPods Pro 2s. And the first thing you're gonna notice is the case. There's 2 things you're gonna see on the case, but there's actually 4 big changes to the case. And the first thing you're gonna notice on the case is that there's now a little speaker down there. Now that's for notifications, things like if you're going to charge them, you get a little ding, and when you're pairing them and so forth. But the big reason for that speaker is that the AirPods Pro case now works with the Find My app and works really similar to how the AirTags work. So you can ding them, you can make them beep to find them, but you can also use that like cool proximity thing to just see where they are. If they're hidden under a couch cushion, you're like, I know they're near me, I know they're close, and your phone can point you to them. Usually the ding is how I find my stuff though. I almost never use that proximity thing. It's cool, I just don't use it. And then the second physical change is that there's now a lanyard hole on the side. Apple does not include a lanyard in the box, but they gave us a lanyard hole for those people that wanted a lanyard. It feels like they were just trying to get rid of case makers that were making cases for AirPods that had lanyards, and they were also getting rid of people that made cases for AirPods that would hold an AirTag. But the 2 big changes that you're not gonna see but do really matter, even more than a speaker and a lanyard hole, are that these are now IPX4 water resistant, which means that if you get them wet, if they maybe take a quick dunk in the toilet, which I've heard lots of people do, or if they go through the wash. Now, technically, IPX4 should not go through the wash machine, but the earbuds in the past have been IPX4, and I've had plenty of friends run their AirPod Pros through the wash, and then they still totally work. And that's because I think that Apple in general underrates their waterproof ability just for consumer concerns. Like if they told you that these were more waterproof and then they weren't, they're on the hook for it. But if they tell you that they're less waterproof and then they prove more waterproof, well, then kudos Apple. But technically they are IPX4 water resistant. Now the 4th thing, and this is what I think is probably the coolest, is that the old AirPods would charge on wireless chargers, but not MagSafe compatible. And the new AirPods, they put the MagSafe magnet array in there, so now they not only charge on wireless chargers, but they can hang on like that. Which seems like a little thing, but when you think of how many I have a car mount in my car that I charge my phone on, now I can put my AirPods on there and they'll charge also, and MagSafe attached to those. And then I guess as a 5th thing on the case, the old Apple AirPod Pros could not charge on the Apple Watch charger. So if you had an Apple Watch charger with you, it could charge your watch, but only your watch. And now it can also charge your AirPods. That's pretty cool. And on a total side note, and not in any way the sponsor of today's video, but I just got this new charger called the Unravel, and it has 3 charging spots, 1 for your Apple Watch, so I could take the new Apple Watch Ultra and pop it right there, pop my phone right there in the middle, get that guy charging up, and pop my AirPods on that side. And 1 USB-C cable is gonna charge all 3 devices. It's the coolest new thing that I've gotten. I love it, and you guys would like it too. I'll link it in the description for you guys because it's so damn clever. And this thing also, it folds up, so when you go travel, you just bring this and 1 USB-C cable, and you charge all your little Apple devices. I'm very pleased with this thing. Okay, I think that's all the physical changes with the actual case. Now let's open it up and look at the actual earbuds. They look almost identical. This time there being 3 big differences with these actual buds. The first being that they now come with extra small ear tips, which I think is gonna be a big change for a lot of people. Now that doesn't matter to me, I wear the mediums, but a lot of people that I talk to, mainly females, would say that the AirPod Pros, they wouldn't fit into their ears, or they wouldn't sit in their ears properly. Like they would get in there, they felt fine, and then as soon as they walked, talked, or ran, it would just fall out. And the second change is that they've moved the optical sensor compressor and the pass-through into two separate pieces on the AirPods Pro 2, whereas on the first one, they kind of combine them together. So now it's two little separate pieces instead of one combined together. And basically they really just repositioned the internal microphone, the microphone that's listening to your voice, listening to what you're actually saying on phone calls or while you're just talking, and knowing that everything else should be canceled out. So everything that it hears from this outside microphone, cancel all that noise out, and everything that it's hearing from this internal one, keep it. But the third big difference on these AirPod Pro 2s is something that I mentioned in a video in 2017 when I had the first AirPods ever, and I talked about how to turn the volume up and how to turn the volume down. All you gotta do is make this outside bit touch sensitive, right? So then if they're in and I want to turn the volume down, I could just go down, up. How easy is that? And it only took Apple 5 years to listen, but you can now slide your finger on the front of the stem and slide your finger up or down to control the volume. And while I kind of think it is in a weird spot, it's on the front of the stem. So it's not like you use your finger on the outside of the stem, which is kind of what I feel like would feel better. You kind of almost have to put your thumb behind it because you're kind of doing like a pinch to it, and then your finger on the front of the stem slide. If you don't have your thumb in the back, it just almost like pushes the earbud out of your ear when you're trying to do the volume. But it's so useful. I don't know how that wasn't in previous generations, but having to either reach into your pocket to turn the volume up or down, or say, hey, turn the volume down. That's silly. A very welcome feature. Now on to what really matters on these headphones, the sound, the noise cancellation, and the transparency mode. But first, a quick moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Squarespace is your all-in-one platform to build a website, run a blog, book appointments on there, and set up an online store. I've been a professional photographer for 14 years, and for 9 of those years, I've trusted Squarespace with my website and portfolio. And if you have a business or side project that you want to take to the next level, building a website through Squarespace is the way to do it. I've helped more than a dozen friends set up their own websites on Squarespace, and they couldn't be happier because it's so easy to set up, but it's also so easy to keep updated. Anytime they want to go in there and just tweak something really quick, they can do it all by themselves. No coding and no web designers involved. Go to the first link in the description, shoot over to Squarespace, get a totally free trial, and when you're ready to go live, use code Manning for 10% off at checkout. Okay, back to sound quality, noise cancellation, and transparency, and this is probably where these headphones surprise me the most. If you've been following this channel for long, you'll know that my wife is in a country band, has released a bunch of music on Apple Music and Spotify. She was on American Idol twice. Go look her up, Morgan Lee on American Idol. But I know what her music is supposed to sound like. I've been in the recording studio with them when they've recorded some of these albums. So I sat there and I listened to these headphones and the AirPod Pros 1 back and forth. And while sound preference is going to be individual per person, I think that the AirPod Pros 2, they sound significantly better, mainly in the bass and the midtones. And I would say it's significant, probably 20 to 30% better. And I think that Apple didn't make a huge deal out of this because they didn't want to say that their previous generation's AirPods, even the AirPod Pros, just kind of sounded tinny and lacked a lot of mid and bass tones. With the AirPod Pro 2, they really should gloat a little more. They should brag that the audio quality, the music listening experience is quite a bit better on these things, which makes sense because they have the new H2 chip in there doing a lot more computational audio than the H1 chip from the AirPod Pros 1. Now, if you, like me, think that these were too quiet, that you wish they got a lot louder, you will not get much change out of these guys because I would say they're about the same volume. I wish they were louder, but when I want to hear my music more, I want to cancel out more of the world around me, that's when I switched to noise cancellation mode. And that's where they made another big improvement and where the H2 chip really shines. Now, the Apple says that they have 2 times better noise cancellation, which I don't know, that's hard to quantify. I would say that if you listen to them side by side, you can definitely hear a difference. Now, the noise cancellation on the AirPod Pros 1 though, it was so good. And I would say that they are still really, really good. But when you do listen to them side by side, when you switch back and forth, you can hear what Apple has done with that H2 chip to just like silence the world. Now, they're still not gonna match like an over-ear headphone experience. I think that's just always gonna be better. It's just so difficult, but man, they fit in this little thing. They just in your pocket. It's not some big set of headphones. These are really shockingly good. And lastly, transparency mode. And transparency mode is the mode that my AirPods are almost always in. I rarely use the noise cancellation mode, only really if I'm like sitting here at the house or maybe if I'm on an airplane. And with the new H2 chip, Apple is saying that these guys are reading or listening for exterior sounds for that transparency mode 48,000 times per second, which seems absurd. And I would say that this feature is probably less noticeable if you're not going back and forth between these headphones also. Because if you just use the AirPod Pros 1 in transparency mode, they sound really good. When I walk around, I can hear them really clearly, but going back and forth between them side by side, I can hear that these are slightly muffled. Like they give my voice a slightly muffled tone to my own voice. Not horrible, not like actual in-ear noise canceling headphones, but if I went back over to these guys, when I throw them back in, my voice sounds, it does not sound like there's even headphones in my ears right now. And for me, this is a massive selling point, but again, only because I primarily use these headphones in transparency mode. The last thing on these guys is that the battery life has increased about 30%. We now get 6 hours out of just the earbuds, which is amazing. And we get 30 hours if you have the case. So pop them back in the case for a little bit, get them charged back up, and then total time listening is 30 hours. Again, though, these guys already had an absurd battery life. Okay, the last big question is, if you have the AirPod Pros 1, should you upgrade to the AirPod Pros 2? In every metric, they have improved the AirPod Pros 1, including the case, to the AirPod Pros 2. But most of these features, you only notice if you're looking at them side by side or listening to them side by side. If you just judge these on transparency and noise cancellation and sound quality, you would go, pretty decent headphones. And while I'm not a fan of the sound quality, like the music listening experience of these guys, the noise cancellation is amazing, the transparency mode is amazing, the battery life is great. So just all around a really good headphone. The only reason that I would say you should upgrade if you have the AirPod Pros 1 is if you're like me, who bought these back in 2019 and now they kind of suck. My battery life on these is maybe an hour with the actual earbuds in, and the Bluetooth drops out all the time. They're old AirPods now, they're old wireless headphones, and the batteries die and they wear out and the case battery wears out. It's just, they're an older pair of headphones. So if you're in that spot where your AirPods are starting to act funny on you, you've had them for a year or more, I would say the difference, the jump from these guys to these guys will be felt. You'll definitely feel it as a significant upgrade. But if your AirPod Pro 1 are working fine, just don't ever listen to these. Don't ever put them side by side and compare them, and you will be happy with these. Comparison is the sucker of joy. But if you are looking for a new pair of headphones, the AirPod Pro 2, they are quite impressive. All around a better set of AirPods, and it's the same price, $250 for the first generation, and now $250 for the second generation. Let me know what you guys think though down in the comments. What do you guys think of the AirPod Pros 2? And if you have the generation 1s, are you looking to upgrade? I'm most probably interested in hearing people that have Gen 1s. Will you upgrade to the Gen 2s? Thank you guys so much for watching this far into the video. You guys rock, and I will see you soon. Need to make these AirPods mine. The Memoji thing is cool and all, like having your Memoji on there, but this is so much better. B-I-D. Haha! Now they're really my AirPods. But also, I am gonna have a tough time telling these apart. I'm gonna use the lanyard hole to be able to tell them apart. That's hilarious.